The misleading video title is going to replace non-dinosaur and dinosaur list. I didn't get the chance to fix it before the stream started, but like unofficially, just for clarification to everyone who is watching the stream and will be watching the video, this is misleading video title, or video title lies to you. That would be something like having a non-dinosaur in your dinosaur list, or saying, like the last one we did, I think, where it was like, oh, creatures from before the dinosaurs in times of antiquity, and it's like half of them were things that were after the dinosaurs, and then one of them just straight up was a dinosaur, even though it was saying that they weren't doing dinosaurs. Like, I didn't even notice that when I was first watching through. It's just like, why did you call Therizinosaurus a duck? Like, he blindsided me. He hit me with a Chewbacca defense that I didn't even see. The real problem here, which is that, like, aren't you more or less saying that this isn't a dinosaur because it's something like, oh, it's something that's not a dinosaur that's living around the same time? Like, fuck, dude. It's so frustrating. I feel like every time I look at the comments on the Rebirth video, it's just like, most of it is just like, your standards are too high. Thanks. I have gotten like maybe one or two comments that try to refute my points made in the video and not just say like, why can't you just... Guy strapped up to a machine, blasting Harry Potter movies and porn into his brain while heroin is dripped through an IV.
Ridiculous donation of an inappropriate sum of money. But nah, I'm not doing that. Yet smiley face. In all seriousness though, hope you're doing well. Keep living cuz we really like ya fish man.
I'll give it my best. Thank you very much for the $20 reduce. But yeah, it pretty much just comes down to, oh my god, let people have fun. You know that image? Yeah, and the Cumotron, the automatic masturbator. Oh my god, let people enjoy things. It's just that. A lot of the comments on the Rebirth video are just that. Yeah, the argument goes the same way the other way around. It's just like, oh my god, let people enjoy things. Like, bitch, let me not enjoy this. Top 10 prehistoric creatures you're glad are extinct, parts 1 and 2 by Life's Biggest Questions. Hell yeah, I can. Okay, let's get into this shiz, shall we?
What's happening, guys, and welcome back to Life's Biggest Questions. Last time I saw you, we were breaking down even more.
This guy sounds like an actual person. Oh my god.
More ways dinosaurs could still exist today.
I don't like the way that T-Rex looked like. That looked like a T-Rex shaped rock. At the very least, the Walking with Dinosaurs T-Rex had good colors on it. Like, what the fuck? Isn't AI, but still slop. 3 years ago. Could still have an AI-generated script. We'll see.
And with these fascinating sea creatures being discovered these days, like the immortal jellyfish or the glass octopus, just a see-through octopus, okay, one has to wonder what used to roam the planet. Well, I'll tell you one thing, they were a lot bigger and a lot scarier. That being said, I'm Taylor McWaters, and here are the top 10 prehistoric creatures.
Oh my god, it's the Gumby Brachiosaurus again. They're back! Also, I'm very sorry, sir, but I feel like your hair just doesn't really work for being against a green screen. There's the Gumby Brachiosaurus. I can't believe they're back.
We're glad are extinct. Kicking off the list at number 10, the Dunkleosteus. Now, it may sound
okay, Dunkleosteus. You're missing a whole vowel in there.
silly because it has the word dunk in it, but this thing did not shoot.
I'm sorry, what?
Dunkleosteus. Now, it may sound silly because it has the word dunk in it, but this thing did not shoot threes. It actually...
Good. Excuse you. I believe that Dunkleosteus is balling. Shrunk Dunk? Nah, this was, pre-Shrunk Dunk. Now, if he says it's 50 feet long, like the last one, that's not gonna matter.
Shot its head out at you in 50 milliseconds. Quite fast. The Dunkleosteus was a...
It shot its head out, yeah, at you in 50 milliseconds. I thought it was like it could close its... It could, like, close its jaws that fast. Not like... It's not like one of those fish that has, like, the big... Like a sling jaw wrasse, right? I don't think it's like that. There was a study done that said that, like, yes, Dunkleosteus could close its mouth very, very fast. I don't know why they focus on that, though. Like, oh no, it closes its mouth within 50 milliseconds. Darn, I could have dodged it otherwise. I don't think you are. I don't think you're dodging it. I'm sure to win against Dunkleosteus because my speed is superior.
30-foot-4 long armored fish that originated
34 foot long. Again, even by pre-shrunk dunk standards, I'd say that's pretty goddamn big. Like, I want to say pre-shrunk dunk was like 20 feet long. 20, maybe 25 footer. Yeah, that's too much.
from the Devonian era. Its
True.
fossil was first discovered in 1867 by Dr. David Dunkel. Dunkel, now you're getting it. So
Was it even discovered by him? I thought it was just named in his honor. Yeah, discovered by J. Terrell, a hotel owner and amateur paleontologist. Hold on, what was his name? Wasn't it David Dunkel? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, named to honor David Dunkel, former curator of vertebrate paleontology at the Cleveland Museum of Natural History. Okay, so curator of paleontology, not fossil preparator. But yeah, it wasn't discovered by David Dunkel, it was named in honor of him. So that is wrong. I figured that because I don't think you're actually allowed to name a species after yourself. I originally thought that Lambeosaurus lambii was named after Lambie, like Lambie named it after himself, but it was named in his honor. So yeah, you're not allowed to name a taxa after yourself. You kind of have to hope that someone else names it after you. Stephen Colbert got it with the spider. He got it. He asked for it on TV and was just like, hey, I want a spider named after me. And then he did. One of these days. Then again, I don't want it named after my last name, because that would suck.
400 million years ago, this thing was the king during the ages of fish. It swam confidently in subtropical waters, weighing around 1 ton, and it was kind of a bully, obviously. I mean, look at this thing. It's not his fault, he was born that way. Its massive skull was well equipped with 2 fangs. Each of those fangs had like 2 sharp points, so it almost had 4 fangs. 4 fangs.
Okay, you're not a scientist. I understand that. We've talked about this a lot because Dunkleosteus comes up a lot, like to the point where I may as well replace Megalodon with Dunkleosteus on the goddamn list. These aren't really fangs. They are certainly not teeth. They are basically just big protrusions of bone, like big sharpened bone sticking out of Dunkleosteus' face that grind against each other to sharpen one another. So I understand that you're not a scientist. I mean, I'm not a scientist either. You don't know the proper terminology behind this. That's fine. This is not a good green screen.
2
Anyway.
teeth, a lot of trouble. Those teeth would rub against each other as it grew.
Yeah, again, they're not teeth. Yeah, bone razors. It's horrifying. But yeah, Dunkleosteus was indeed a toothless predator. Quite interesting.
So as if the massive bonehead wasn't intimidating enough, he's constantly sharpening his teeth, waiting for you. Yikes. If you're looking to gaze into the face of fear, head to the Cleveland Museum of Natural History. They name it Dunk. Go see Dunk. Go say what's up to Dunk. Number 9, Meganuropsis. Moving
Meganuropsis. I haven't heard of this one, but is he talking about Meganura? Or like a close relative? It is indeed a relative of Meganura by the looks of things. Yeah, it's a griffin fly. From the Permian, actually. Interesting. So, this was after the Carboniferous. Fascinating. I didn't know that, like, big-ass species of bugs survived after the Carboniferous, but apparently they did.
Moving over to the insect side of history, these guys had a wingspan of 30 inches. Insects 2.5 feet wide, flying towards your face. No thank you. Meganuropsis lived 250 million years ago. They greatly resemble dragonflies, but they weren't. They flew around before...
Hey, he got that right at least, so I can't dock him for incorrect taxonomy. He at least knows the difference between a dragonfly and a griffinfly. Or at the very least, he knows they're 2 distinct things.
Pterosaurs, birds, or bats ever...
Also what?
Dragonflies, but they weren't. They flew around before pterosaurs, birds, or bats ever did. The extinct griffin fly was discovered in 1939 in Kansas by a man named Frank Morton Carpenter. He was the insect curator at the Museum of Comparative Zoology at Harvard University.
Okay, he's reading that off of Wikipedia. I don't know why you couldn't read that Dunkleosteus was named in honor of David Dunkel off of Wikipedia, but yeah, I feel like you're reading that off of Wikipedia. Which, fair enough. I read stuff off of Wikipedia, but I usually do that to correct people who are wrong on the internet.
They had teeth, and scientists believe that they were as fast as dragonflies today.
Insects don't really have teeth as far as I'm aware. They do have mandibles, which are the big sort of chewy mouth parts. But they don't have teeth. There is a distinction there. You're 2 for 2 on saying things that didn't have teeth have teeth.
Teeth and speed plus wingspan equals I'm dead. We're all dead. Fossil remains have...
No, you're not. I mean, harmless might be a bit much. Because, like, I'm sure if one of these things bit the hell out of you, it would suck. But it's not going to kill you. Unless it, like, rips your throat out or something, and you're incredibly unlucky. They vomit their stomach acid like flies do. I think a lot of bugs, like a lot of insects and arachnids, do something similar. They mostly just kind of, like, crush the food with their mandibles until it becomes, like, kind of gooey and soupy, and so they can slurp it up with their actual mouths. Like, spiders do the same thing, more or less. Like, when the venom of a spider basically turns its victim's insides into goo, like, then they just kind of slurp it all up. They slurp up the goo.
Also showed us that these guys would spend some time around water. Imagine being in a kayak and this thing comes and just takes a bite out of your neck. No, I don't want to imagine that. I'm glad these things are gone.
Okay, well, at least he mentioned that it would have to take a bite out of your neck. We're on the same page there.
Save most of the animals, but also don't save all of them, you know? And before we continue on with this scary list, if you want to go ahead and give us a thumbs up, give us a thumbs up for animals that are extinct. What a weird thing to ask, but you know what I'm talking about. Those likes do add up and they give us a lot of support here at the studio to then fire stuff out back at you. It's a circle of life. Hit that thumbs up. You're amazing. Thanks. Back to the list. Number 8, Megalodon. Louis.
We got Megalodon, baby. We got it. Too easy. Yeah, don't save the animals I personally don't like. Bleh. Don't like that attitude. Because, like, there's plenty of animals that I'm not a huge fan of and wouldn't want to meet in a dark alley. I'm not going to say they should go extinct. I'm not going to say that the Humboldt squid should go extinct because they terrify me to my very core. Is he going to be a Megalodon truther?
Louis Agassiz discovered the Megalodon shark for the first time way back in 1843. He was a Swiss-born American naturalist and geologist. Now, he discovered some amazing details about glacier activity and extinct fish. He's brilliant, but one of those extinct fish just happened to be the tooth shark, aka Megalodon, or as Jason...
The tooth shark. Tooth shark, aka Megalodon. No, Megalodon means big tooth. Not tooth shark. I'm pretty sure if it was tooth shark, it would be like Pristodon or something like that. Odontopristis. Right. Because yeah, Ototus means ear tooth. So Ototus Megalodon means big tooth ear tooth. What does Carcharodon mean actually? Sharp tooth. At least okay, yeah. I trust Wikipedia more than AI overview. So yeah, jagged / sharp tooth, which, fair enough. So, back when it was Carcharodon Megalodon, it was sharp big tooth. Now that it's Ototus Megalodon, it is big ear-shaped tooth.
It lived everywhere in the world but Antarctica, really. It favored warm oceans, but similarly to a great white, it generates heat when it moves. So it can survive most places and therefore kill you in most places.
Okay. I'm pretty sure he's talking about the fact that great white sharks are kinda sorta warm-blooded. But he said it generates heat when it moves. That makes it sound like it's boiling the water around it as it moves. My understanding is that it's kind of the opposite, that Megalodon wasn't really able to travel to colder waters or like thrive in colder waters once the Earth's temperature started lowering during the Ice Age. Yeah, most things generate heat when they move. That's kind of one of those laws of physics that I've heard so much about. So yeah, Megalodon wasn't really able to cope with the changing climate in the same way that their prey, whales, could. The adults did find the juveniles that didn't. I could believe that. Yeah, that like the juveniles would have a hard time adapting to like colder temperatures. I understand that it's like all around the world. I just didn't realize it was in like colder climates too. Or at least climates that would have ended up being cold.
Arizona donated $5. Thermonuclear shark hours.
Yeah, we should really just hook up a bunch of megalodons to a generator, and then bing bang boom, infinite energy. The cetotheres went extinct everywhere. I don't know if Megalodon wouldn't be able to adapt to like eating other types of whales is the thing. I mean, it's possible that maybe they just like specialized in this one type of whale, but I don't know, they were around for a while. It's equally possible to think that like whatever conditions ended up killing off the cetotheres ended up killing off Megalodon as well. So, I don't know. It's a mystery, but it was likely due to a variety of factors, such as climate change, out-competition from other predators, and hunting by humans.
The largest recorded megalodon came in at 59 feet, about the same length as a bowling alley. If this
Okay, so we don't really have a largest megalodon, right? We have estimates based on what material we have of them, which is mostly teeth, almost entirely teeth. I do think there are some megalodon vertebrae, but you're not going to find like a full megalodon skeleton because megalodon, like all sharks, are cartilaginous fish, and you'd have to be the luckiest motherfucker alive to find a megalodon whose entire body got very rapidly buried by sediment to the like degree that some small sharks do. Megalodon length is such a contentious topic. Like, saying that the largest one capped out at 59 feet, I'm pretty sure that's what he was saying there. No. That's a very conservative estimate. I mean, this is 3 years ago. Like, ideas have changed since then about, like, I'm pretty sure this was back when it was still Carcarocles Megalodon instead of Otodus now, so who knows what that's affecting in terms of this thing's length. It's very difficult, if not impossible, to make definitive statements on how big Megalodon was. And our current estimates show it as being quite a bit longer, actually. It's kind of a stretchy boy, the Megalodon, as opposed to past depictions, but it's kind of just depicted as like a sort of chunked up great white in both length and girth.
This thing were still alive today, there's no chance our boy Jay Staith could take it. Its 7-foot wide jaws had plenty of trunk space for a swimmer, and its 5 rows of razor sharp teeth ensured it didn't get out. Number 7, Arctidus. Lions and tigers.
Okay, that says Simus, not Smilus. We got Big Bear Boy again. Is he gonna mix it up with Arctotherium?
Tigers and Arctidus, oh my. Also known as the short-faced bear. This thing went extinct only a mere 11,000 years ago. It was the fastest running bear that ever existed, so all
Fastest running bear. Have studies been done on that? Okay, so studies have been done on this. It seems like just one guy though, Paul Matthias. Yeah, at the very least, studies have been done on this, so fair enough for saying this. At least a study's been done on this. Yeah, it could be that they're basing the speed off of relatives adjusted for size, but again, the size means that like you need to put more energy into moving all that extra body, you know what I mean? It's not just like, oh, it's bigger, therefore it has longer legs, therefore it can move faster. You know, you gotta haul that weight around, you know what I mean?
already we have trouble. Its legs were much longer than today's bears. If this thing stood up on its hind legs, it would be about 13 feet tall. That's like 2 of me and a bit. It's nuts. Today's bears also have different shaped toes. Today they have pigeon toes, but back then these guys had straight forward-facing feet, so they were athletes. These guys were doing 200-meter hurdles. Biologists conclude that the short-faced bear only ate meat, so it was basically Joe Rogan. And given the fact that it was
I don't know if there is a way to definitively prove that without stomach contents. I would not be surprised if there were stomach contents of Arctodus that like did have some plant material in there, like berries and stuff. Cause like, again, like polar bears are pretty much totally carnivorous bears, but that's because they live in an environment that doesn't really have plant material for them to eat. We've mentioned this before. If you put a bear in a zoo and give them like a pumpkin or something, like they'd be they'd be totally fine eating it. They don't care. Just like you can give a lot of herbivorous animals delicious meat, and they'll be like, fuck yeah. Yeah, these guys had scarier toes than modern day bears. That's kind of like, I feel like you're stretching. Like, just say it's a bear that's bigger than normal. The Murray will eat meat if it is given to him, but only if it is covered in spices.
11,000 years ago, I feel very badly for humans that found it. Well, with its powerful nose, realistically, it would be tracking them, so it found them. It needed about 35 pounds of meat a day to survive, so one Christina Ricci ought to do it. That's a lot of porridge for one bear. Number 6, Eurypterida.
Oh, entire clade. Entire clade is one entry. Yeah, like pretty much all bears, as far as I'm aware, are omnivorous to some degree. So, certainly if, like, offered, like, pandas will eat meat, they'll sometimes catch fish, and, hey, piss a panda off enough, it'll still maul you, because it's a fucking bear. And polar bears will eat plants if given the opportunity. So yeah, the entire clade of Eurypterids as one entry. I feel like it's been a while since we've had this.
We look now to the largest scorpion to ever exist.
Incorrect taxonomy. Sea scorpions aren't really scorpions. They're their own thing. They're closer to sea spiders than they are to scorpions, as far as I'm aware.
Part of the arthropod family, insect spiders.
At least he can say arthropod.
And crabs, all that gross stuff. It was nicknamed the sea scorpion, and it swam the waters about 450 million years ago.
The entire group of sea scorpions swam around for a very long time. The Eurypterids were very long-lasting. They lasted into the Permian. You're saying, like, the entire group of Eurypterids, but it sounds like you're only referring to one in particular.
It would be about 8 feet long with their claws swinging another 3 feet out to snip at you. So
again, you're talking about the entire clade of Eurypterids and saying, like, oh, the one that is 8 feet long. That's probably Pterygotus or Jacalopterus. Maybe Pterygotus. Fuck, dude. Because again, like, I have a Eurypterid fossil. It's, like, that big. You're making it sound like they're all this big. Or that there is one animal called Eurypterid.
So an 11-foot sea scorpion is what we're talking about.
You just said 8 feet.
Here. Nice. The first sea scorpion was discovered in 1899 in Melbourne, Australia. You know, the place with all the giant scary stuff? Over there. Number 5, Thylacosmilus.
Oh, me, dude. That was... Oy vey. That was rough. Okay, I've heard a few people say Thylacosmilus at this point. I still say Thylacosmilus. Again, this is such a small animal. It's got big chompers. It's so small. This is like, I want to say the size of an ocelot, maybe. I don't think it's harmless. You really wouldn't be in too much danger from it. This is like maybe a clouded leopard in terms of size. So I wonder what he'll say about this to gas it up, because, again, this is like the size of a clouded leopard.
I saw an opossum a couple weeks back, like outside in real life. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I had no idea what the f I was looking at for numerous minutes.
An opossum? There's not much that looks like them in North America. Unless you saw like a big gray rat. And it has to be a big ass rat, because opossums are huge. What does that have to do with anything? Well, an opossum being a marsupial is actually a fairly close relative of Thylacosmilus, since Thylacosmilus is a Metatherian mammal, which are relatively close to marsupials. And, I think maybe monotremes. But, yeah, that is technically a through line, but I don't know if he realizes that. I think he's just saying, hey, that's like a normal animal and I didn't know what it was, but this thing, I really don't know what it is because it looks weird. It's got big chompers.
Marsupials are fascinating but odd creatures to see with your own 2 eyes. But back 5 million years ago, they were much more of a threat and a little bit scarier looking.
Okay, so he does realize that. He does realize the connection he's made there. So that is something. I don't think that Thylacosmilus was like a full-on marsupial. I think it's just in the group, like Rosie is saying, that includes marsupials. Is he getting this confused with the marsupial lion? The Thylacoleo? Is he getting that mixed up? I feel like this one also wasn't huge. Yeah, that's like big dog sized at least compared to like clouded leopard ocelot size. So yeah, like they do have fairly similar names because they have the same like root at the beginning of their name. So I don't know if he's getting them mixed up. Like again, this is a Metatherian, so it's in the same group as marsupials, but it's not a marsupial itself. I don't know if he realizes that. I don't know if he's getting it confused with Thylacoleo.
Thylacosmilus looks a lot like a saber tooth, but it was part of a group called Spinosaurus, a cousin to our marsupials now.
Okay.
Its name
This is what I get for pausing the video. I'm going all EFAP on you guys. I apologize.
translates to terrible pouched knife, which sounds excellent, and it used to live in what's now South America. Elmer Riggs discovered the remains in 1920, and only recently have we figured out that it wasn't a cat, although it might look quite similar. Its teeth are intimidating, but this beast didn't have incisors. Its lower jaws weren't fused together either. These teeth were triangular in shape like a claw rather than a flat blade-like tooth. Either way, I'm happy not having this thing take a bite near my neck. Let's keep it that way. Go away.
I don't think he mentioned how small it was. Again, this is a tiny animal. It'd have to really jump to get your neck.
Stay in history. Number 4, T-Rex.
T-Rex? No way! I'm surprised this is number 4. He really hates stuff by these things. To be fair, I have weird feelings around my neck area, right? Like if people touch my neck, I feel weird about that. And like whenever I see a bee, this is a weird thing for me. I'm always very concerned about it stinging the back of my neck in particular, because that's like my blind spot, right? And so if a bee lands on the back of my neck, I'm like, what the get off. Don't go to my don't go to the back of my neck because I can't see that. That is a weird kind of thing that I have. I don't know why.
Of course, we have to mention a T-Rex on a list of creatures we're glad went extinct. Tiny arms, massive head, loud scream. We've seen Jurassic Park. Come on.
What the fuck? There is a lot that's been going around about like, oh, dinosaurs couldn't roar, and that kind of has mutated into this weird idea that dinosaurs couldn't vocalize at all. But saying that T-Rex was like screaming loudly is, I think, going into a bit of the former there. I have no doubt in my mind that these would have been vocal animals, but like the idea of a T-Rex like roaring as it attacks you is silly. It's very silly. Why would it roar as it's attacking you? That just gives away its position. That's silly. And seriously, what the fuck is this like King Kong looking ass? We got like the Visatosaurus over here.
About 70 million years ago, this big fella would roam what is now North America.
No. I want to say T-Rex showed up around like 2 or 3 million years before the end of the Cretaceous, so he's a few million years early on that. You're off by a few million years there.
And on average, it would be about 20 feet tall, 8 tons, stretching a haunting 40 feet long, and its jaws are the main bread and butter here. We laugh at...
Okay, 20 feet tall. I don't think that's quite right. I want to say this is around 15 feet tall at the hips, around like giraffe-ish height, maybe even a bit shorter than that. I have like seen a T-Rex in person now. I've seen Sue at the Field Museum. I don't think it was 20 feet tall though. I want to say like 15, maybe 13 feet tall. There we go. Tyrannosaurus could have exceeded sizes of 43 feet in length and 12 to 13 feet in hip height. Yeah, 20 feet is a bit of an overestimate.
For this thing for not having long arms, as if it even matters. 50 to 60 razor sharp...
Hey, at least he just basically said, hey, the head thing meant that the tiny arms didn't matter, which, thank fucking God. I'm sick of talking about T-Rex's tiny arms.
Serrated teeth about 9 inches long would help it digest 500 pounds of meat and...
9 inches long is honestly a bit of an underestimate because, like we've talked about this before, the T-Rex teeth at the longest, roots included, could get around a foot long, I want to say.
One serving. Henry Fairfield Osborn sounds...
Oh boy, Farfield. Henry Fairfield Osborn. Is he going to say he discovered or described it?
like a Marvel villain. He's actually the president...
Okay, fair enough.
President of the American Museum of Natural History, and he named the behemoth back in 1905.
Okay, just named it.
The name T-Rex comes from the Greek and Latin words meaning tyrant lizard king.
Also, we had the Papo Rex. We had it. It was there. We can't even escape it in the sludge videos. I just realized he looks like Gautier. Doesn't he a little bit? He looks like somebody that I used to know. Well, we didn't get much about our good friend of the channel, Henry Fairfield Osborne. Unfortunately. Or maybe fortunately.
If you thought the only lizard king was Godzilla, think again. Number 3, Elasmosaurus.
Should I really be glad that Elasmosaurus is extinct? Yeah, did I have to cut him off so many times in this video? This wouldn't be that much of a threat to people. The only time I've ever seen Elasmosaurus be really threatening, even in like a paleo documentary, is in that one episode of Dinosaur Planet with the Pyroraptor, where he's got washed up by a tsunami and he's floating on the log with his sister, and the plesiosaur just comes out of the water, eats his sister, and then fucks off. People were small enough for it to eat? Alright then. I suppose it could be a bit of a threat, but like, I'd put a pliosaur on the list instead because it's more like obviously macro-predatorial, as opposed to Elasmosaurus, who like, if you gave it enough fish, it'd be fine.
First discovered in 1868, a military doctor in Kansas found this creature's fossil, passed it along to American paleontologist Edward Cope, who named it the plesiosaur. Its next
No. Plesiosaurs were already known from British fossils, I believe, including ones found by Mary Anning. Cope, I mentioned this in the most recent JV2 challenge video. Cope was able to correctly identify the fossils as belonging to a plesiosaur. That didn't stop him from putting the head on the wrong fucking end of it, but he didn't like name the entire clade of plesiosaurs, and he didn't name this thing plesiosaur. He named it Elasmosaurus. At least I'm pretty sure he was the one who named it.
that contained 71 vertebrae, and it was super long, which came in handy during those deep dinner dives. And when I say long, the Elasmosaurus was about 50 feet in length, so it didn't need to get that close to the surface of the water.
I don't know if that's correct. I think 50 feet is a bit of an overestimate. I want to say Elasmosaurus is like 40 feet long. I can look it up. Okay, 34 feet in length. So that is definitely an overestimate. Watching these reaction sludge videos is so much more rewarding compared to the VTubers I try to watch react to stuff. Unfortunately, I say this as someone who does watch VTubers. Sometimes the reactions are a little bit vapid, but for the Corpo ones, well, actually, I don't know how many Corpo ones are even allowed to react to stuff. Maybe like Pippa, but does Face Connect really count as a corporation that doesn't do things besides sell coffee? Well, I guess there's like Henya too, but she's not part of a corpo anymore. Not anymore! Oh god, V Shoujo has just collapsed in an instant. Dear god. Anyways.
Water to get some air. There's people out there that actually believe that the Loch Ness Monster is just one of these things still lurking about.
I had to get rid of the cryptid one. God damn it. I had to get rid of it. I feel like a dumbass now because he's talking about the Loch. Like, I thought he'd be a Megalodon truther, but now he's going to the Loch Ness Monster.
Its teeth were sharp enough to eat anything that it could fit into its mouth. And just
which was not much because it had a very small head.
2 years ago, scientists have unearthed the largest known elasmosaur. This thing has been sitting there since the Cretaceous period, waiting for us. And I sure hope we don't find any more, because one water dragon is enough for me.
You hope we don't find any more? Go fuck yourself. Fuck you. As a paleontology enthusiast, I say fuck you. In the nicest way possible. Yeah, at least he just said that others believe it could be the Loch Ness Monster. He's not like saying, oh, it could still be out there. Because, like, again, I've said it before, the Loch Ness Monster does not exist. I'm very sorry, it just doesn't.
Number 2, Liopleurodon. Translated
Oh, are we gonna get the 80-foot long one? Come on.
to smooth-sided teeth, the
True.
Liopleurodon was anything but a smooth sailor. It was a massive marine reptile from the Mesozoic era discovered in the
massive?
19th century. It was excavated in France back in 1873, and all they had was 3 teeth, hence the smooth nickname. But when it was featured in 1999's Walking with Dinosaurs BBC series, it was shown as this massive 80-foot long pilosaur. But they were based
Pilosaur? Come on, man. How far away is your script that you misread that? And yeah, like saying that it was not a smooth sailor, that's just kind of weird. You could say that it would like make a voyage anything but smooth sailing, but like I guess that's a bit more of a stretch. But even then, like I imagine this thing would have been rather graceful in the water. Yeah, a pillow sore. You rest your head on it and go.
Basing that size off of its skull, which we now know is much larger than the rest of its body.
No, that's not what happened at all. Okay. So what happened with the Walking with Dinosaurs Liopleurodon is that they based it off of fragmentary material that was originally attributed to a giant unknown pliosaur. But it was later determined that this was most likely attributed to a sauropod instead. So they attached the name Liopleurodon to it because it was a relatively well-known British pliosaur at the time. Like, I think even they knew that they were stretching by calling this thing a Liopleurodon, but they had to give it a name besides just, like, pliosaur, even though I think with the Paraceratherium, they just called it an Andricothere the whole episode, so what the fuck ever. Yeah, saying that they based it off of the skull, like, I see where you're coming from there, because proportionally speaking, the skull of pliosaurs is quite large compared to that of other plesiosaurs. But the way I would read that, if I didn't know better, was that I would think that, oh, they must have thought that this was like one of the long-necked plesiosaurs. And so they just like kind of said that, oh, this big-ass head must have been on the body of a big-ass plesiosaur. Like, imagine this head, but it's on like an elasmosaur. That animal would be enormous. That's basically what people were thinking of with something like Dinocyrus back when it was just arms. It's like maybe this was a giant, like 50-foot long dromaeosaur or something. Before we know it is what it is now, which is a silly creature. Yeah, pilosaurs bait in their prey by being really comfy and soft.
It's normal. Pliosaurs were the apex predators.
Well, now you just said it correctly.
In Europe. 160 million years ago, most of it was covered in shallow water, and it used its 4 flipper feet to stalk its prey, and researchers believe that its snout was a key asset in hunting.
Well, yeah. It don't got hands.
They didn't have any gills, so they did need to come up for air every now and then, but imagine seeing that today. I see a turtle in the water, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna wait it out for a bit. Number 1.
You're scared of everything, dude. Well, number 1's Titanoboa. And yeah, calling the flippers feet, you're not technically wrong. They are modified feet, but now they're flippers. Would you call a penguin's flippers hands? Would you call them hands? Would you call them its long fingies? No, not really. Yeah, like obviously its snout would have been instrumental in hunting because, well, it's got to eat. It needs to eat with its face. How many of these were just like slightly bigger things of animals that exist today? Yeah, like basically a big dragonfly, big shark, big bear, and big snake. So like half the list. He's got megalophobia, dude.
1. Titanoboa. I'm not a snake guy. I'll start by saying that. Spiders.
All right, I always forget that people are like irrationally afraid of snakes. I always forget that because like I'm not. And so I forget that's the case for other people, that they're like a lot of people are genuinely horrified by snakes. That is completely out of my depth. I'm not scared of snakes at all. There are snakes that I would like, you know, give a respectable distance to and not go anywhere near, but I'm not like scared of them. So like, yeah, I consistently forget that.
Sure, whatever. Snakes? Get lost. I don't like the way they wrap their body around you and squeeze like anacondas. It's so scary. But
I don't like how snakes wrap around you and squeeze like anacondas. I know what you mean by that, but the way you word that sentence makes it sound like anacondas aren't snakes.
60 million years ago, the movie Anaconda would have been a lot shorter. The movie would have been like 6 minutes long. In 2004, its remains were discovered after an excavation of a coal mine in Colombia. It was found in rock dating back to 60 million years ago. And after studying several of its fossils, scientists believe the average size was 50 feet long and 3 feet wide. That's
about accurate, yeah.
The largest known predator on the planet after dinosaurs went extinct until 40 million years later when the Megalodon popped up. That's a pretty...
It was the largest one until Megalodon popped up? You're not giving enough credit to Basilosaurus, my guy. Basilosaurus was enormous. I don't know. I don't think that Basilosaurus was contemporary with Titanoboa. I think it came along later. Even then, the really big prehistoric sea snake, that was also fucking huge after Titanoboa went extinct. What the hell was that one called? Paleophis, that's the one. Yeah, this thing was like up to 40 feet long. Yeah, so this is post-Titanoboa. This lives in a post-Titanoboa world. And even then, so is Basilosaurus. Yeah, that is about 20 million years later, and it was about 60 feet long. That's big. That is a big animal. And then, I know Perucetus must have shrunk by this point, because I knew from the start, yeah, around the same size as Basilosaurus, just like chunkier. I knew from the start it would get shrunk. I feel bad for saying that, but once they were like, oh man, this thing might be bigger than a blue whale, I was just like, they're gonna shrink it. I know they are. It's an overestimate. They're gonna do it. So, yeah. Megalodon was obviously a very large predator. I want to say in terms of length, certainly, it probably would have been bigger than Basilosaurus. I don't know about weight, just because, like, shark weight is weird, as far as I'm aware. But anyway, yeah, saying that Titanoboa was the largest predator until Megalodon existed is not exactly accurate.
Large window to be ruling the earth. Next time you see a garter snake, imagine it's the size of your garage, and then...
Wait, did he say that's a long window to be ruling the earth? How long was Titanoboa even around for? He said it was like 60 million years. Yeah, I don't think... Yeah, this lasts for 2 million years. At least. So yeah, a long time ruling the earth, that's 2 million years. It's very... very strange. Very strange way to phrase that.
And have a panic attack, like I did scripting this list. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Those are the top 10 prehistoric creatures we're glad we don't have to deal with today. But before you head out, drop us some...
True story. I once was at a Petco. A guy shows up with, I believe, a ball python, and I asked the guy if I could touch the snake. My mom would stay 2 feet away from me until I washed my hands, lol.
Yeah, that's just the kind of shit that does not... That just doesn't register in my brain. Like, I won't even be near someone if they've recently touched a snake without washing their hands. Like, are you scared of snake germs? Are you scared of getting bitten? Are you scared I'm going to turn into like a were snake? What exactly are you worried about? But again, it's just one of those completely irrational fears that I just don't understand at all. But I often forget that these irrational fears even exist, because I'm just nowhere near that. Scared of balloons? Okay, balloons, I honestly do. I'll be real, I understand a fear of balloons more than I understand a fear of snakes. Because, like, when you're a little kid and you, like, pop a balloon and there's just this loud, deafening boom, and it's very fast and very startling and very loud, then it's just like, that can instill a fear in you. How many people genuinely have, like, a really bad fear or like a really bad childhood experience with snakes? I feel like that is a very learned fear from, like, your parents, right? You're a very small and impressionable child, and you see your parent react to a snake in a certain way. They're just like, like, you know, fucking bass fishing productions, just looking at literally anything and be like, what the fuck is that? It looks like an alien! You know, that kind of shit. If you're an impressionable child and you see that sort of thing, then it's like, yeah, that's gonna impact your, like, psychological development in a way that makes you fucking terrified of snakes. And honestly, like, balloons are... It sounds silly, but they're like a similar case. It's like being scared of the toaster. Sometimes the toaster pops when you least expect it and it scares you, and, like, your brain registers that. Your brain keeps it in your head. Scared of spiders because my older cousins were afraid of spiders. See, there you go. That's the kind of, like, learned fear sort of thing. Like, when I was a small impressionable child, I watched shitloads of The Crocodile Hunter, and so I wasn't afraid of any kind of animal. I only ended up afraid of animals that I learned about after watching The Crocodile Hunter, and that pretty much just boils down to Humboldt squids. Because it's just like... They're mean. They're mean animals, and they don't like you. Hominids are predisposed to be scared of snakes. Even chimps and gorillas are terrified of them. Well, that at least makes sense in like a sort of monkey brain way, because like if you see a venomous snake, then obviously you want to avoid it. And it's hard to tell in that monkey brain state what kind of snake is venomous, so it's easier to just like avoid all kinds of snakes. But anyway, let's move on to part 2, because he's just gonna say, hey, like and subscribe and shit, and I'm not gonna. I don't care.
What's happening, all you curious cats and kittens? Welcome back to Life's Biggest Questions. While it's sad to be alive to witness all these animals going extinct, there's still some from millions of years ago we're probably glad we don't have to shoo off of our doorstep. They were pretty terrifying.
I would hate to shoo a Tyrannosaurus off of my doorstep, or a Saurolophus. Also, yeah, did you just call us kittens? I'm not your Discord kitten. Get the fuck out of here. Hey.
And a lot bigger and scalier and wet. For some reason, they're always wet. This is a part 2. You know exactly why you're here. I'm Taylor.
He has a dragonfly tattoo on his arm, and he put like basically a giant dragonfly. I know that they're not super closely, like they're distantly related, but like in terms of appearance, it looks like a big ass dragonfly. And he basically put a giant version of his tattoo on the last list. Very mysterious. Anyway, yeah, I don't think this is from that much longer after the first video. Yeah, maybe it's an antlion. There you go. Yeah, as long as the tattoo of a dragonfly on his arm is small, then it's okay. So maybe it is just a case of megalophobia.
Waters, and here are 10 more prehistoric creatures we're glad went extinct. Let's get anxious. Kicking off the list at number 10, Therizinosaurus. There is or there isn't, because that name is misleading. No, they've been
That was a clunker of a joke, dude. God damn. Jesus. Ooh. Ooh. You can tell that AI did not write that joke. That can only come from a person. I think we got a real script on our hands, folks.
been dead for 75 million years. They're for sure gone. There is a Nosaurus. Fun.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, the name is misleading, but it means scythe lizard, but he's just making a joke about how there is no Saurus, and that is not misleading because they are definitely dead. Okay, so Therizinosaurus. Continue. He's got like kind of a big hairy ass here.
One name, also known as the reaping lizard. It was first discovered in
I can see where you got that from, but it's the scythe lizard. I mean, scythes are known for reaping. And of course, the Grim Reaper carries his scythe and shit like that. But, yeah, it is scythe lizard because its giant claws look like the heads of scythes. And, hey, they served a pretty similar function in, like, get all this food, get all this plant food into my face.
In 1948. It could grow up to 10 meters long and weighed about 5 tons. Quite the unit. But the feature that stands out the most on this long neck, raptor-looking dinosaur is its massive claws. The thing's got baseball mitts for hands. It's quite intimidating. This is
Baseball mitts? You make it sound like there's skin in between the claws. That is such a weird description. Like, I've heard people describe it as like Freddy Krueger or like Wolverine. Those make more sense. Baseball mitts is just weird. Why would you say it like that?
This is where the Greek gods got the name from. Therizo means to reap or to cut off. This is the Freddy Krueger of dinosaurs.
Why didn't you just... Oh. I keep pausing this guy at bad times, apparently. But, like, why would you say baseball mitts in the first place? Yeah, Edmontosaurus has baseball mitts for hands because they're, like, all the fingers and shit are fused together. Also, he's saying, like, the ancient Greeks got their name He's like, again, I know what he's saying, sort of, but he's making it sound like ancient Greek people discovered this dinosaur, and not like they didn't just come up with the root, for like the word scythe or reap or whatever.
Now, although its choice of meal was always a salad, it didn't shred animals up unless it had to in self-defense, in which it was probably pretty easy. They would just be like, hee, and then it's gone. Or a bunch of plants, hee, there we go, we're eating. The first fossil was discovered.
Again, obligate herbivory is basically a myth, but I don't think that means that Therizinosaurus was going around hacking up anything it could find just to like get a bit of extra meat into its diet. It would be more like the depiction of the Megatherium in Walking with Beasts, where it just like scavenges off a carcass and fucking butchers a Smilodon that gets too close to it because, hey, fuck you, I'm eating.
Discovered in the late 1940s from a Soviet Mongolian fossil expedition, and they found the claws first, which must have been pretty intimidating because for 10 years they really had no idea what this creature was that these claws belonged to. In the early 50s, they found more bones, and eventually the pieces of the puzzle fit together, and they realized that it wasn't a turtle like they originally thought. I also love that.
That is true. That is also where the species epithet for Therizinosaurus comes from. It's like Therizinosaurus cheloniformis, which basically means like it is in reference to the fact that they thought it was a turtle. I originally heard in Chased by Dinosaurs from Nigel Marven that the claws were thought to be the ribs of a big turtle, but no, apparently they did still think they were claws. They just thought they were turtle claws, which I don't know how you do that. I guess that's just paleontology in the 50s for you.
Concept art. That would have been a pretty cool turtle, but alas, it's just a larger, much more terrifying dinosaur. And before we continue on with this list, if you're loving all this dinosaur goodness, click that thumbs up. Let's give a thumbs up for the fact that none of these still exist. That's a good sign. Let's keep
I
this
hate
going.
things
Number
existing.
9, Helicoprion.
Yeah.
Perhaps one of the weirdest sea creatures to exist about 250 million years ago. This looks like a shark, but scientists now know that it was actually related to chimeras, which is a fish that separated from the shark fam about 400 million years ago.
Wow, fucking points. He actually pointed out where it's closest to, phylogenetically speaking. I never see that. God damn, dude. Like, hey, you're very happy that this thing is extinct, which I'm not, but points for actually getting that right.
This 25-foot-long fish was first discovered by Andrei Zarpinsky in Russia back in 1889. He got the name Helicoprion because it translates to spiral saw. This guy found teeth fossilized in a spiral formation, which is wild to find that. He must have been scratching his head for weeks. Paleontologists all agree today that this was not part of a fin. It wasn't a wacky spinal cord like somebody who I'm talking about later on in this list. Its teeth coiled up and it was a
Okay, I'm gonna guess he's talking about Spinosaurus. I would appreciate if you would show like visual examples of previous reconstructions of Helicoprion that were trying to basically rationalize what the world was, because there were some depictions that basically had it like on the back of the dorsal fin as like this long kind of spindly structure. There were ones that like did correctly identify it as teeth, but like had it as like kind of just a big spiral like on the chin, more or less, where like all the teeth were jutting out at all times. There were loads of different depictions like this until eventually we came to the reconstruction that we generally have today, which is quite a bit different.
Attached to the lower jaw of the fish, and its snap was the same power roughly as a crocodile. So new teeth would form, and then in turn these spirals would get longer and longer and coil in. Adult fish would have 4 rotations in their mouths.
Are we doing the same thing again where we're saying that like the teeth are like as they grow they shrink into the spiral? Because that's still not how it works. For fuck's sake. Like, I don't know if that's what he's saying because he said it weird, but I feel like that's what we're going for here. Yeah, the one fucking video that told us we should be happy that thylacines are extinct. Like, go fuck yourself. I want to punch you in the dick.
And I thought an ingrown toenail was uncomfortable. This, oh my god, I couldn't even imagine. No thanks. Number 8. Dire wolves. If you're from...
Oh, good. Good news. They're not extinct anymore. Totally. They're coming for the Moa next. Get ready for an emu. That's just kind of big, I guess. They fucking AI generate more images of it on their Twitter. Oh god. Colossal is going to be just like the grift that kills de-extinction. We're gonna get a big-ass emu in a couple of years, and they're gonna be like, see, we brought the Moa back. No, you fucking didn't. What are chimeras exactly? Chimeras are a type of deep-sea fish. They're also called ratfish. I believe they are also cartilaginous fish, much like sharks and rays. They're just kind of their own really weird offshoot. They're like their own thing. They are very strange animals, which is like why they have been given the name chimeras, just because like they're really weird. I don't know how to spell it. I'm not good at spelling stuff. Yeah, I think they're also called like ghost sharks. Look at that. I love his snoot though. Yeah, they primarily live in the deep sea, which is like why you don't really hear about them much.
Southwesteros, this one might hit close to home. About 10,000 years ago, which is pretty close compared to all the other animals on this list, dire wolves were still a thing. Now, if you've watched Game of Thrones, which you should have, if you haven't, go watch.
Oh man, when when did season 8 come out? Oh man, I feel like that was long enough ago that should be dated. Highly outdated fact. You should watch Game of Thrones. If you haven't watched it, don't bother. The ending is awful. Season 8 was 2019. We're 2 years after the ending of Game of Thrones, and you're still recommending it to people? Oh my god.
Watch it. Go watch the whole show after you're done this. Yeah, easy.
Go watch the whole show. Definitely don't stop at like season 4. Maybe season 5 if you're feeling generous.
You're probably nodding your head right now, or getting tissues, maybe both, I don't know. Dire wolves come in at around the same size as a gray wolf today, so it's not like a mega wolf with 3 heads or anything insane. There's no teeth coming out of its neck, but it did weigh a lot more. It was eating pretty good.
It was around the same size as a modern gray wolf, but it weighed a lot more. That's not what size means. I'm pretty sure dire wolves were, at the very least, in terms of like height or length, they were a bit bigger than modern day gray wolves. Not by a lot, but they were bigger. You're basically describing almost like a fatter gray wolf. At best, a more muscular one.
Jaws were much stronger, so crushing animal bones or humans weren't really a problem. They would actually hunt down and eat horses. Yeah, you know, like horses. After studying
I've never heard of a horse before.
their teeth, that was their go-to snack. Currently, if you're in the market for seeing 400 dire wolf skulls, head to the Page Museum in Southern California. They found hundreds of thousands of these things in the La Brea tar pits.
La Brea. Come on, man. That's not hard to say. Oh, this is after the paper that said they weren't wolves? Oh, oh wait. Highly outdated fact. We had incorrect taxonomy. I didn't realize we didn't have highly outdated facts yet. I'm counting both of these as one video because it's a part 1 and 2, by the way. I don't know if we had the biggest ever. Oh wait, yeah, we did, because it was the Titanoboa was the biggest predator ever. Until Megalodon showed up, and we have Megalodon. I don't know if we have misleading video title, because like he is at least trying to showcase dangerous animals, even if I think one of them hasn't been very dangerous. If we get to an animal that we're definitively like not glad to be extinct, like if we get a thylacine on this list, yes, we'll cross this one off, because again, to clarify, this one is going to be replaced by misleading video title.
Dire wolves and saber-toothed cats would get stuck in these pits, and then depending on who's stuck that day, the latter would then come along, eat them, and then unbeknownst to them, they were actually walking to their own similar fate. It's just people going in, eating, sinking, going in, eating, sinking. It's horrible. Number 7.
Yeah, it's a predator trap.
Arthropleura. These creepy crawlies translates to jointed ribs, which sounds so gross off the bat. Okay.
It's like Santana. The one thing that Santana can do that the other Pillar Man can't. He's just like, I could do ribs. Ow.
Arthropleura were these gigantic millipedes. How gross. They would grow up to 6 feet long.
Again, I have to rationalize that people just don't like some things. Like, people will look at a millipede and be like, ew, gross, icky, yuck. Even though I'm not really bothered by them, for something like a house centipede, I can at least get that. They have these super long, spindly legs, and they're really, really fast. Millipedes are so chill. They're very chill and slow moving, and they don't bother you. The worst thing they can do is just kind of smell bad in your general direction. The worst they can be is a little bit stinky.
Long, it was the largest known invertebrate to this day, thankfully.
Largest known invertebrate? No, you are incredibly wrong about that. Not even the largest known arthropod, because again, that was Dunkleosteus. Largest known invertebrate has got to be the giant or colossal squid, depending on whether or not you're measuring by length or weight. If you're measuring by length, it is giant squid with the feeding tentacles extended. If you're measuring by weight, it is the colossal squid. Even then, by length, largest invertebrate, like, if you want to go by length, longest invertebrate, that could be like the lion's mane jellyfish. Those things' tentacles get like 100, 200 feet long. I'm pretty sure there's some ridiculously long siphonophores too. But I don't know how you count those because they're kind of like multiple organisms acting as one unit, sort of. Not really like a single animal. Siphonophores can get to 50. Okay. 50 meters? Oh my god. 150 feet long. Okay, siphonophores are ridiculous. Holy shit. This is why we use weight to measure largest animals now, by the way. Bootlace worm. 180 feet long. Oh my god. So yeah, if you're going by length, you are completely wrong. If you're going by weight, you're still very wrong. What is the heaviest invertebrate? I'm pretty sure it's the colossal squid. Let's go ever. Okay, it's fucking Triassic Kraken. No, Triassic Kraken does not exist. So yeah, we're colossal squid. Now, Arthropleura, I think it's safe to say, is the largest land-based probably land-based invertebrate. Because, like, in the ocean, everything's gonna get bigger. Certainly by weight. By length, there's probably some really long worms out there, too. And definitely the largest land-based arthropod. Not the largest invertebrate. And, like, if we didn't have the biggest ever checked off, then we certainly do now.
There's nothing bigger than this, so you can throw up once and then you're good. It ruled all over the arthropods, so any other spider, insect, crustacean was nothing compared to this horror. They roamed the land
Ruled over all the other...
during the Paleozoic period, and they would crawl around at much higher speeds than today's millipedes, which is alarming because those things literally will go around your house in like 1 minute. And they...
Millipede? He's confusing them with centipedes. He's confusing millipedes with centipedes. You're not AI, but you got confused and mixed up two different animals there. You were confusing millipedes for centipedes. I know you're confusing them for house centipedes.
They ate decomposing organic matter, so no, they wouldn't gobble you up if you went back in time, don't worry. The reason all these monster bugs got...
like millipedes do, not like centipedes, which you're thinking of. I don't know if this is overhyped because he's just saying it was moving fast, which, I'll be real, I don't think it really was. Like faster than a house centipede. I know that it would have moved faster than like a millipede because hey, those things can only move so fast. But like, if you see house centipedes move, they zip. They really fucking move. I think if you are like talking about top speed instead of sustained speed, then I think a house centipede would beat out an Arthropleura. But if you talk about sustained speed, then I guess an Arthropleura would be faster. I don't know. Measuring the speed of a myriapod is kind of fucking weird in terms of like, hey, how scary is this thing? But I guess that's just for the people who get creeped out by like bugs moving super fast, which again is just one of those things where it's like that. I mean, sometimes it can bother me, but only when I'm like right up in the bug's face, more or less. Wasn't that fast considering its size? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like if you compare that to the speed of a modern millipede, who are like just barely cruising along there, then like, yeah, just by nature of being so much larger and having longer legs, it would have been moving faster. But he's saying, I know that he's saying compared to a house centipede, which I don't think it was.
So large, by the way, was because 300 million years ago, oxygen made up 30% of the air, whereas now we're only sucking in 21%. We're getting hand-me-down bug air, which is awesome. So,
oh boy, the oxygen thing. I don't know if the oxygen thing was the only thing that was determinant in the Carboniferous just explosion of giant bugs. I don't think it was, because again, in the last fucking video, we just had the giant griffin fly that was alive during the Permian. So clearly, the amount of oxygen really didn't have all that much to do with it. And again, people conflate this with the amount of oxygen there was in the Mesozoic. Including David Cap. Thanks, David. Thanks, asshole. I was like, oh, the dinosaurs could have only gotten so big because there was so much oxygen during the Mesozoic, right? No, it is the opposite. There was less oxygen during the Mesozoic than there is now, especially during the Jurassic period, which is when sauropods really started to get fucking huge. Yeah, oxygen doesn't really have a lot to do with with size, right? Even in regards to arthropods, and certainly not in regards to vertebrates, because again, there was less oxygen during the Mesozoic, and that's when we got sauropods, which were the biggest things to walk on land. But again, today we only have 21% oxygen in the atmosphere, and we have the biggest animal that has ever lived. And it doesn't need nearly as much oxygen as everyone else because it only has to take a breath every few minutes. Compared to everything else that's just like... So yeah, we're doing the oxygen thing. David Kep is doing the oxygen thing in fucking Rebirth. But apparently only after 5 years of having well established themselves. That's when the dinosaur's lungs are just like, oh, I shouldn't exist anymore. Blech. There's some fun action sequences in there, but Jesus fucking Christ, is the script bad. Even then, the action set pieces just fall the fuck off in the third act. I was thinking about this, right? So many people, myself included, were just like, the Mutodons were completely pointless, and they should have just replaced them with raptors, right? But I was thinking, if they did replace the Mutodons just with raptors, like the Mutodons didn't exist, if it was just a raptor scene, people would just be saying, instead of oh, these Mutodons are fucking garbage, they would have been saying, wow, that raptor scene was really lame. We got a really lame raptor sequence this time around. No one even died or anything. So it really doesn't even just come down to, oh, replace the Mutodons with raptors and now the movie is good. No, for starters, there's way more issues with the script than that. And for seconds, you basically have to rewrite the scene from the ground up. Just have another fodder character, for fuck's sake. You clearly ran out by this point. Or hey, have the raptors kill Big Pharma, and then have the Gigasloposaurus kill Duncan and have him actually die. It's so stupid. Fuck Rebirth. Fuck Rebirth, it's a terrible movie. But, hey, if you're on this channel, you probably already knew that.
So we luckily, though, don't have any monster bugs, just a dying hot planet that we have to deal with instead. Number 6, Epicyon. Much more than just a dog. These extinct canines were known as bone-crushing dogs. Much different than your, schnauzer. They would come in...
Is this Hold the fuck up. I actually don't know this species. That image looks like a hyena. Is this a hyenodont? Okay, it is a canid. Yeah, I really don't know this one. Restoration. That looks like a dingo. I'm pretty sure that's a photo bash dingo. I don't know how big this is. Yeah, big dog size. So we have yet another example of regular animal that is just kind of slightly bigger. More than a dog. Good. So that's kind of interesting that it seems to be a canid that seems to be taking a hyena-like approach to its lifestyle with the bone-crushing kind of jaws and teeth. That is interesting. I don't know if I'm glad that this is extinct.
At around 5 feet long, greatly resembling a grizzly bear. Their massive head would come in handy during all these hunts, and it had the head size of a lion, and its jaw certainly played the part as...
Okay, I think we're at the point of overhyping. Jesus Christ. Like, big dog. The largest species is a big dog. The smallest species is a small dog. It doesn't look like a grizzly bear. Its head's not as big as a lion. Like, back up a little bit. Alright? Can we get, like, another size estimate? Or... Yeah, no. This is just, like... Okay, maybe that's as big as a lion. But I don't know how accurate that is, honestly. I think we've pretty definitively crossed off overhyping. Most of the head scratcher moments have mostly been his attempts at humor. Not necessarily him saying that, like, Arthropleura could spit venom or something like that. We haven't gotten to that level of thumbnail bait, I don't think.
As well. Lions, tigers, and bears all rolled up into one furry 300-pound sack of holy It was made to...
When did you mention tigers? Also, it's a dog. It's like a lion, a tiger, and a bear, and then you look at it and it's like, oh, it's a big dog.
To crush, literally. Its fourth premolar wasn't large, just like some hyenas. So just like bears, this thing too lived in what's now North America, and they went extinct about 6 million years ago, which is pretty recent considering other guys as well. Could you imagine camping and all of a sudden this thing comes in? Sorry, all of a sudden this thing runs in? No way, never.
Can you imagine camping and a really big fucking wolf or a modern day grizzly bear comes in? Yeah, that sucks. Those things can also run, by the way. I would rather run into this than a bear. Like, sorry. I know that they're closely related because, you know, bears and dogs share common ancestry. I'd rather run into this than a bear.
Never. Not a chance. Number 5, Mega Piranha.
Ah, this guy again. Easy going the thing that can shred a Megalodon in mere seconds.
We talked about Megalodon in part 1, but here we are with another Mega. Mega Piranha sounds like a Marvel Comics villain from the 70s, but in reality it was much worse.
You said that about Henry Fairfield Osborn. I think that's more fitting for Osborn. Yeah, this guy really does have megalophobia.
These things obviously were much bigger than today's piranhas. They came in at about 1 meter long and they ruled the water around Argentina. So 6 million years ago, you wouldn't want to take a late night skinny dip, or else.
Yeah, Mega Piranha probably, like, just based on what we saw last time with it, was like an intermediary stage between a big Pacu and actual carnivorous piranhas, which I think is really interesting from an evolutionary perspective. I don't think it would be, like, aggressive. This is probably mostly a scavenger.
Else you probably wouldn't come out of the water. Its bite force was 50 times its own weight, which is scary for any fish, but
50 times its own weight. I'm pretty sure you mean, like, per square inch, probably? So 50 times its own weight per square inch, right? Yeah, like, in the Amazon River, I wouldn't want to go skinny dipping in there for a multitude of reasons. And pretty much none of those reasons are piranhas. I don't want to get grabbed by, like, a black caiman, or an anaconda, or a jaguar. I have other things to worry about. Fuck, I've been worried about just an arapaima coming and just punting me in the face. More than I'm worried about a piranha coming to, like, bite my dick off. Yeah, I know that the catfish that swims up your pee hole is a myth. Like, I do think that is a hilarious and mortifying image. But, I do know that it's a myth. But, I still wouldn't want to go skinny dipping in the Amazon for a multitude of reasons. Oh, I know that black caiman are huge. That's why they're the first thing the first things that I thought of. However, I don't want to get my skull bitten open by a jaguar. Oh yeah, electric eels. They can fuck you up too. And you wouldn't even realize it. That'd be horrible. That'd be awful. Because, like, I've been electrocuted a couple of times now, and it sucks. On, like, such a level that it could basically paralyze your entire body and you don't even know why it's happening. And now you're, like, under the water and you're panicking because, like, you've just fallen over. Maybe you're face first down in just a puddle. That's awful. That is an awful way to die.
when they're 30 pounds on average back then, that's some quick maths. That's gonna hurt. Its bite can outchomp Megalodon. Like,
What? Megalodon has the strongest bite force of anything that's ever fucking lived. You're insane. Okay, so 15,000 per square inch. Yeah, no, that's still... Not even close to Megalodon.
Come on. Even today, the word piranha makes people anxious because our modern day black piranha, sure it weighs 2 pounds, but it's...
Why would you go for the black piranha instead of the way more famous red belly piranha, which is like actually a meat eater? Are black piranhas like fruit-eating scavengers? Yeah, they're omnivorous. They eat plants, fallen fruits, and animals smaller than themselves, such as insects and small fishes. Why would you not mention the red belly piranha, which is the one that's actually famous for like being able to fucking debone a cow carcass in a couple of minutes? Are you getting it confused with the black caiman, which is the largest of the caimans? Like what I was just talking about with reasons for not wanting to go swimming in the Amazon? Fuck, dude.
Razor sharp teeth and bite force is still pretty intimidating. I'm sure Mega Piranha will be the villain in some huge blockbuster with some actor. Mega Piranha 3DDD Part 3 or something stupid. Number 4, Linhenykus. If you thought a T-Rex had tiny arms, wait.
That counts, T-Rex comparison. Well, being with a piranha isn't as dangerous as it is it still dangerous to touch them? They'd probably just get freaked out if you tried to touch them, honestly, and like swim away from you. Because like piranhas are like, you know, small fish. They still get preyed upon by other animals, so they don't really want to be touched. I don't know if that would trigger one to bite you defensively. I have seen that with like fishermen who hold piranhas that they catch, and then they just like kind of fuck around with them, and then they get bitten because they're being dumbasses. Yeah, he didn't think of an actor either. It's just like, it'll be the star of a movie with an actor in it, filmed by some camera, written by a writer and a director. Yeah, piranhas are like decently calm fish. They're really not that bad.
Until you see this dude. Linhenykus monodactyl.
I'm glad that an Alvarezsaur is extinct. Dude, this is basically just like... This may as well be an emu with a tail. Hold on. How small is this Alvarezsaur in particular? Because I want to say that, like, Alvarezsaurs didn't get bigger than, like, 6 feet. It's 1.5 feet long. Oh, this is Julius Chutney artwork. Nice. I think Bonapartenicus. That's, like, the largest one known. Or at least one of the largest. Yeah, like 10 feet long. 9-10 feet. This is the Alvarezsaur that I would want to see in Jurassic World Evolution 3 if we do get an Alvarezsaur. Because, like, this is the biggest one. I know it's not like Mononychus, but it would be one that you can actually, like, see decently well.
Roamed the lands of Mongolia 65 million years ago. I'm a fan of this little dinosaur. It's actually always giving other dinosaurs the middle finger, which is great. So it had a little...
Okay, that's probably technically accurate. In other animals that have reduced their hands or their limbs to, like, you know, having basically one digit, like horses, that is indeed the middle digit. So horses are always flipping you off, and I guess Alvarezsaurs might be too. Yeah, why is it on this list if you're a fan of it? And also, it was small. How are you going to overhype this one?
Little arm and one finger claw type scenario. Hit ice cream cones for hands, essentially. In terms
Okay, the comparison that I would make is, you know, bugles? Just put a little bugle on your fingertip. It's like that. You put a bunch of bugle chips on, like, all of your fingers and you scratch your sister with them. Whatever, man.
In terms of these other monsters on this list, it's pretty small. It came in at the size of a parrot. Now this little guy would lay eggs and carve through anything that snuck into their nest. It was still a carnivore, like it was a T-Rex, Velociraptor, and this little guy. They were all coming after you.
Really? Really? Are you sure? I think the fact that this thing was like 1.5 feet long, by your admission, the size of a parrot, would say like, oh, he's eating bugs. Ooh, a delicious bug morsel. Oh god, I love eating bugs. You can't eat what ain't bugs. Yeah, I would not be noticing this little guy if a T-Rex was running after me. I'd be assuming that the T-Rex is chasing him too. It's just like, oh no, little Alvarsaur, come with me, I'll get you to safety. I'd be thinking that for the Velociraptor. Hurry, Velociraptor. Come with me, we'll get you to safety.
Any shape or size, you're getting pecked apart or ripped apart. I would for sure have this guy as a pet. His little cone hands just tapping around.
You said it's gonna run after you and kill you and you'll have it as a pet. Yeah, man, getting ripped apart by a Komodo dragon would suck. I want to have one as a pet, though.
That'd be so cute. Until he, eats your neck. Number 3, Spinosaurus.
He really just doesn't want anything touching his neck. He's like me in that aspect. What the fuck is wrong with this guy? This guy's got necktism, dude. It's always his neck. He's like a titan. He knows that it's his weak point.
Another Jurassic Park star, and rightfully so. The largest carnivorous...
Oh, that counts. Jurassic Park world footage. He's using still images, so I'm counting that under... I'm counting that under it. I think we've sufficiently gotten worse as well. It might have gotten worse, and... Hold on. Hold on. So it's a T-Rex, a Velociraptor, and the tiny little Alvarsaur all chasing you at once. Count as pack hunting. Does that count? It's so absurd that I feel like I have to ask. No. Okay then. 7,000 Linhenykus. Eat this man. That's the sound I think they'd make. Yeah, the meter-long fish with a stronger bite force than Megalodon. I think that's thumbnail bait. So we need an unrelated animal used as B-roll, which he's been surprisingly good about. Or we need pack hunting mentioned. I feel like that's very possible.
Dinosaur of all time, even bigger than a T-Rex.
Wait.
Rightfully so. The largest carnivorous dinosaur of
Okay, carnivorous. He just said it weird. I thought he said the largest dinosaur of all time. Largest carnivorous in terms of length, weight is... Weight is a bit of a weird one. It's hard to judge dinosaur weight in general. Like, T-Rex often gets the label of heaviest carnivorous dinosaur just because, like, it's incredibly girthy. But in terms of the more fragmentary species like Giganotosaurus or Mapusaurus, who aren't known from as complete material, the jury might be out there. In a species with almost confirmed pack hunting, would it pass? As long as pack hunting gets mentioned, it doesn't have to be on a species where like there's no evidence of pack hunting. It just has to be mentioned, because like I feel like in the context of these shitty videos they usually say, oh, and it was pack hunting too, as a way to be like, oh, it was more badass, like, oh, maybe you could take on one of these things, but a whole pack, not gonna happen, buddy. Hasn't been doing too bad on the facts. Really, he hasn't been doing too bad on the editing side of things, I would say. In terms of facts, it's been very shaky. Yeah, we really just need pack hunting or unrelated animal.
All time, even bigger than a T-Rex. Can you imagine? Oh my god. 93 million years ago, they stopped terrorizing the lands of what is now Egypt and Morocco. If you didn't already guess, its name translates to spine lizard, and that spine was quite long. The spine reached about 7 feet tall, and the Spinosaurus itself would measure up to 60 feet long.
I want to say that's an overestimate. I want to say Spinosaurus at its largest was around 50 feet long. So what if you could see the darker side of me? Anyway, could have reached 46 feet. Okay, so 50 feet is probably like the like upper estimates. Still huge. I did see a Spinosaurus skeletal reconstruction at the Field Museum, and it's a big ass animal, but 60 feet, it was not.
And aside for its back, one of the most notable features is its 6-foot-long head. Its mouth was similar to a crocodile's, with straight, sharp teeth, not curved like the other ones, but like straight. So these teeth could stab right through any...
So I'd say that's about correct. Spinosaurus teeth are pretty straight and they are smooth on all sides. They're conical teeth, which is good for grabbing onto fish. So he is right about that, as proven by my Spinosaurus tooth.
Slippery fish, just a big skewer for a tooth. That being said, paleontologists from the University of Pennsylvania believe that this guy used to swim as well, because where the first Spinosaurus fossils were found...
Why mention the University of Pennsylvania? specifically. Isn't it like it's like his name is Nizar Ibrahim, right? He's like the guy who's doing most of the work with like all the new specimens of Spinosaurus. He's pretty on board with the idea that Spinosaurus would have been like a fully aquatic animal. Yeah, he's from like probably I would assume he's from around Morocco because that's where all the specimens are coming from. That's weird to mention. I would mention Ibrahim. Ibrahim. I don't know how to pronounce his name, unfortunately.
Found that used to be the Bahara Oasis Desert in Egypt, which was a massive swamp. Water or land, I want nothing to do with this thing. And neither did all the people in Jurassic Park. They're like, this guy's gonna kill us. Let's get out of here. Number 2, the devil frog.
Beelzebufo. I was kind of disappointed to figure out that Beelzebufo really isn't all that big. I don't even think it's bigger than a Goliath frog. I think it's about the size of like the biggest modern day pixie frogs, maybe a little bit bigger. But yeah, it's not like an enormous animal. Yeah, still a huge frog, but like smaller than a Goliath frog. It still absolutely could have eaten like super small dinosaurs, but yeah, this wasn't like an absolute monster.
Catching frogs is a fun way to pass the time as a kid. You grab it and you're like, oh, and then it hops away. It's magical. But 68 million years
I'm surprised you're not scared of frogs.
ago, if you saw a frog, you would have to stay far away from it, or else you
No, you wouldn't.
would probably lose all of your fingers and hands. It was a lot bigger than frogs.
Okay. I don't actually know if there's any evidence of teeth on Beelzebufo. The way there are those... I don't actually know if they're teeth on pixie frogs, but here, let me look it up. Yeah, pixie frogs have big ass chompers. They have like I don't know if those are like bones or something, but they have big ass teeth that like just kind of jut out of the bottom of their mouth, and those things hurt. At least from my understanding. And looking at the skull here, it looks like they got a lot of smaller teeth too. So I imagine that a pixie frog bite would really hurt. You're not going to lose your finger to a pixie frog, though. Okay, so it's a mix of teeth and bony tusk. Got it. I kind of figured.
Today, as most of these things are. It was on average the same size as a beach ball, and they lived on the island
As a beach ball? Holy crap. No! No! It's about the size of a hamburger. Maybe like a really big hamburger. Hold frog gently like burger. Not as big as a beach ball. Although a Beelzebufo beach ball would be a really good piece of merchandise. You should sell that.
Madagascar. Now they thrived there because no theropod dinosaurs could get there.
That's just completely incorrect. There was Majungasaurus, which is a pretty standard size abelisaur, and there's also Mechiacosaurus, which is a noasaur. Noasaurs or Mechiacosaurus very easily could have killed a Beelzebufo. There would be nothing stopping one from doing that. Like, really, the only thing keeping it safe from Majungasaurus, I would think, is that it's probably too small to really bother with compared to like some of the other stuff it could be eating. So, yeah, that's just completely wrong.
If that little guy with the horns for hands came along, he wouldn't stand a chance. Its bite is similar to that.
If the Alvarezsaur came along, he wouldn't stand a chance. Bro, I think that the Alvarezsaur might look at Beelzebufo as a decent meal, not the other way around. Again, this wasn't that big of a frog.
Of a wolf or a tiger, which is remarkable considering its size. Recently, however...
Wait, what? Did he say bite force?
Like if that little guy with the horns for hands came along, he wouldn't stand a chance. Its bite is similar to that of a wolf or a tiger, which is...
I'm assuming you mean bite force, not like how damaging the bite would be, because a tiger bite kind of kills you. Okay, if we didn't have video gets worse before, we certainly do now, because Jesus Christ. God damn. This is really bad.
It's remarkable considering its size. Recently, however, researchers found a fossil of the devil frog, and they believe that it once had spikes and a turtle-like shell. As if the devil frog couldn't get any...
A turtle-like shell? What the fuck are you talking about? Where are you getting this from? I've never heard anything even remotely like this. You're fucking nuts.
any cooler, now you gotta add spikes. Sick. Right now we have the horned frog, which is a lot smaller, but even after this
Not really. Argentinian horned frogs, also known as Pac-Man frogs, they are at their biggest around the same size. The the sort of sedentary sit and wait frogs that get super big and fat, like the pixie frogs, like the Pac-Man frogs, at their biggest they can get around the size of a dinner plate. That's around the same size, I want to say, as something like Beelzebufo.
many million years of evolution, its jaw is also remarkably strong. It can still take your fingers. And finally, number 1, the Carnotaurus. When I watched that Disney's dinosaur movie in theaters, I cried when this dude came out. It was way too scary. I was not ready, and neither were the animals that had the misfortune of crossing this thing's path 69 million years ago. Nice. They were around the same size as the T-Rex. They came
No! No! No, the fuck it was not. Now, the one in Dinosaur was about as big as a T-Rex. Probably bigger, honestly. Regular Carnotaurus, like real-life Carnotaurus, I want to say was like a 30-foot long animal. Maybe. It was, as far as I know, aside from that one currently undescribed giant motherfucker from Africa, it is the largest currently described Abelisaur. I know that, like, after last time with the sludge, where I waited so long to upload it that longest Quama, we figured out what the fuck it was. And so now that's already outdated. I'm sure by the time this one goes up, we'll finally have a description for the giant mystery Abelisaur. But yeah, currently speaking, this is the largest known described Abelisaur. But that being said, it was not anywhere near T-Rex sized.
came in at like 29 feet long, but they're nicknamed meat-eating bulls. They would run.
You said in the last video that T-Rex was like 40 feet long. Fair enough. That's about how big it is. Now you're saying that Carnotaurus is about 29 feet long. Fair enough. That's about how big it was. You can't say that these two things are the same size. And meat-eating bull is just basically the literal translation of its name. That's not really its nickname. That's not really what that means. Like, Jesus fucking Christ, this is getting real bad.
At about 25 miles an hour. They're one of the fastest and largest moving theropods to ever live.
Okay, so we're doing the fast Carnotaurus thing again. Carnotaurus is known from a mostly complete skeleton, but the parts that are missing are really important for determining its speed, which is to say, the bottom parts of its legs. So we don't really know if Carnotaurus would have been all that fast. It is possible, but until we find the lower halves of its legs, and yeah, like half of its tail, more than half of its tail, I want to say, until we find the rest of it, it's going to be pretty difficult to say that definitively, that Carnotaurus was like this speed demon. But this is a very popular idea that was floating around at the time. Even I fell for this because I just kind of heard it, and I was just like, oh, I love learning new things about dinosaurs, but it's like, I didn't check my source.
Its arms were smaller than that of a T-Rex, but honestly, it didn't matter because this one has horns.
If you want to be pedantic about this, which on this channel, God knows I always am, T-Rex did also have horns. It did have keratinized structures over its eyes that basically amounted to horns. They just weren't as ostentatious as those of Carnotaurus. And saying that the tiny arms didn't matter because it had horns, I feel like that's almost like a dig against Prehistoric Planet before he even knew about that. Because, like, why does it have this display structure when it has this display structure? Would it be more offensive to say Carnotaurus was just another species of Tyrannosaurus? Yes, because they're not even remotely closely related. They come from two completely different lineages of theropods that split about as far back as lineages of theropods can possibly split. Because Carnotaurus comes from the Ceratosaur family tree, while Tyrannosaurus comes from the Coelurosaur family tree, and those split, like, way back. I want to say the early Jurassic. I want to say the earliest Coelurosaurs were showing up. God, was that around the middle or the early Jurassic? Certainly by the middle Jurassic, they had been well split apart by that point, because you had things like Guandalong and Proceratosaurus showing up. Those are the earliest known Tyrannosauroids, and those are Coelurosaurs. But yeah, there was this idea going around, I want to say, that like the Ceratosaurs were almost considered more primitive and more shitty compared to like the Tetanuran theropods. Um, I want to say that like this especially comes into play when Ceratosaurus and Allosaurus are depicted together. Like Ceratosaurus is always seen as the weaker, shittier one compared to Allosaurus. And Allosaurus always kicks its ass. You see this in Dinosaurs Roamed America. You see this in Jurassic Fight Club. It happens a lot, and it sucks, which is very funny because the Ceratosaur lineage lasted way longer than the Allosaur lineage, which sucks to suck, Allosaurs. You guys are my favorites, but you got beaten out by the more quote-unquote primitive ones. That just goes to show that just because you are bigger and way fucking cooler, you don't always win in the end. You can't always get what you want.
Like a bull, hence the meat-eating bull alias. It was discovered in 1984 by Jose Bonaparte in Argentina. Now they've only discovered one skeleton of this thing, so hopefully there weren't too many of these things poking around.
I want to find more skeletons of this thing. I want there to be more so we can finally put the Carnotaurus speed demon thing to bed.
Literally poking around. Guys, those are 10 more prehistoric creatures that are no longer with
Thank God.
us, gladly. And honestly, as fascinating as these things are, I get itchy talking about them. So let's leave these ones in the past. If a part 3 is in your deepest desires, let us know. Hit that
It's not. It's really, really not. Thank you for trying. You tried. That was not very good. And, unfortunately, try as we might, even with a two-parter, we did not get a bingo. We got close. We got close a couple of times. Maybe there was a pack hunting mention that I didn't get. Unless I really want to count the image of a T-Rex Velociraptor and the little Alvarezsaur all rushing you at the same time as pack hunting. Yeah, Dino, there's never been the case for anyone dying by a Piranhas. Sheesh. That wasn't very good. Walking with ranking? I could definitely do like individual episodes. I think it has the individual segments from Walking with Monsters as well. Because there's like 3 segments of Walking with Monsters. I also don't know if anything really even is D tier. Big Al, top of S. Ornithochirus, top of S. Okay, if anything's gonna go in C tier, I think the weakest episode of the original Walking with Dinosaurs has got to be the 6th one. Just unfortunately, the science isn't very good. The T-Rex design is weird. Yeah. There's so much that I like about it. Like, most, like, the T-Rex design and the Ankylosaurus design. I love the colors on the Ankylosaurus, and I'm so glad that Prehistoric Kingdom has basically the same color scheme on, like, an actually good Ankylosaurus model. Torosaurus looks good. I love the color scheme on the Dromaeosaur, even if it's not feathered. I don't hate it, right? But I think it is the weakest episode of the series. Yeah, the end sequence, it does such a good job at portraying the mass extinction event. Like, holy shit, it is haunting. So I'm trying to remember, like, which is in each Walking with Monsters segment, because, like, this one has the Cambrian explosion with the Anomalocaris and the Haiku-Ichthyes. Was that just the Anomalocaris, Haiku-Ichthyes, and like the Trilobites? And then there was I think it was the Devonian with the Cephalaspis, the Brontoscorpio, and the Pterygotus. So that means this one has the Carboniferous, which... Okay, the spider getting killed by a lightning strike directly into its burrow is kind of goofy. Okay, so this one is Cambrian up to Devonian. This one's Carboniferous into like early mid-Permian with the Dimetrodon, and then this one is this just the late Permian? Oh yeah, this is the late Permian into the early Triassic with like the Euparkeria and the Lystrosaurus. God, I feel like it's been ages since I watched Walking with Monsters. Yeah, God just hated that spider in particular. Probably because God realized, wait a minute, you're supposed to be a freshwater Eurypterid. Smite you. Yeah, this is up to I totally forgot about Hynerpeton. I forgot about the Hynerpeton and Hyneria segment. Is that all that one had? Well, the fact that I forgot about it, maybe doesn't bode too well for it. I feel like the Carboniferous segment also had the most goofy shit in it. Like, again, it has the spider getting hit by lightning, and also the Arthropleura getting flipped over onto world's most conveniently placed shaft of wood so that the amphibian can eat it. Yeah, the baby Dimetrodon just being shrunk down models of the adults. Like, I think this might have been... Was this one of the lower budget ones? I think it might have been. So, that's kind of understandable. Especially because they have so many models already over so many different time periods and filming locations and shit like that. I remember the Dimetrodon section being kind of slow. Like, it's mostly just the mother watching after her eggs and not really much after that. I did kind of like at the end when, like, one of the Dimetrodon that's chasing all the babies is revealed to be the mother who's just, like, starving at that point. And she's, like, missing an eye. Like, that's kind of fucked up and cool. But, yeah, honestly, I think with the goofiness of the Carboniferous and the Dimetrodon not greatness. Yeah, they repeat footage a lot. Like, there's that same shot of the Dimetrodon mother just, like, kind of burying the eggs in the substrate. It's just kind of meh. So, I feel like that might be one of the stronger monsters sections. And then there's this one, the Inostrancevia and the Lystrosaurus. I don't remember all that much about the Lystrosaurus. I remember that the whole plot basically of the Inostrancevia segment is all about like this drying up water hole, and eventually it just runs out and only the Diectodon survive. And I don't remember much about the Triassic, so I think I'm also going to put that one in B. Probably B above Dimetrodon and Carboniferous. Yeah, the ending, where the Euparkeria just instantly grows into a giant Allosaurus. That was good, I like that. They do good with their endings. This one's a bit, I suppose, plotless, but I think that could honestly kind of apply to a few of the episodes, honestly. Like, Big Al and Ornithochirus are really just they're the standout examples of like the storytelling, right? Because I did rewatch this one semi-recently. I think because it does show the late Triassic, which basically nothing does, there's a decent variety in behavior, like between all the different species that are portrayed. The scene with the Cynodonts that like eat their babies just to like survive and move out of their nest, that always like kind of stuck with me, as well as the Coelophysis cannibalizing on their own babies. Walking with Dinosaurs was killing babies before Prehistoric Planet made it cool. Yeah, alright. I'm convinced. That's an S tier. Time of the Titans. I have to divorce myself from the amazing fucking score, the literally perfect score, and also the fact that it has Allosaurus in it, which is my favorite. It might still be S tier anyway. Oh yeah, the Post-Asuchus animatronic. It's got like the glazed over eyes and all the frothy drool. It looks good. This is something that I think the 2025 Walking with Dinosaurs struggles a lot with. It really struggles to make herbivores interesting protagonists. Like, if you ask people who watched the 2025 Walking with Dinosaurs, like, what are the best episodes, they're gonna say like the Spinosaurus and the Albertosaurus episodes, and those are the ones that have carnivores as protagonists, because I think it's just like easier to showcase them doing different behaviors besides just hunting or being hunted or any shit like that, right? I think that Walking with Dinosaurs handles that so much better, and Time of the Titans is a really good example because it's like this long journey over the course of several years in the animal's life and lots of different events happening, from like the eggs being laid to hatching to having to survive in the forest to the big forest fire to moving out to joining a herd and all that kind of shit. There's so much going on for an herbivore protagonist compared to 2025 Walking with Dinosaurs, which has like the Gastonia just kind of eating ferns for the entire episode. And oh boy, I sure hope I don't get eaten by a Utahraptor today. And it's only really elevated by the ending, which does show the forest fire and some of the science around why the scientists believe that a forest fire played a role in the death of these animals. And why the Utahraptor block was, I don't know, a bunch of them that sunk into quicksand. So yeah, I'm putting this one in S tier too. Like, it does such a good job with its herbivore protagonists. Okay, Cruelty, I agree that it is hard to rank because the Liopleurodon is not accurate at all. But it's so fucking cool. It is so fucking cool. It is iconic. I love it so much. That being said, the Ophthalmosaurus storyline, I feel like it kind of loses steam after basically the mother gets ripped in half. I don't know, the baby Ophthalmosaurus surviving, or yeah, just kind of surviving, is not the most like I honestly found myself more interested by like what the Eustreptospondylus was doing, even what the Rhamphorhynchus were doing, and what the Liopleurodon was doing. I feel like the Ophthalmosaurus, for kind of being like the focus characters, really aren't the most interesting. The Liopleurodon is inaccurate because it's way too big as a start.
Arizona donated $5. Liopleurodon has so much aura, quadruple S tier.
I don't disagree with that. Yeah, the opening fake out is just, it's so good. But I think that like showing this like the lifestyle of the animals on the island is also pretty good. I just think that the Ophthalmosaurus storyline is the weakest part of it. So I'm putting it in high A. I do like the fact that it focuses on the marine creatures. I think that's like a good idea for an episode. It's just that it's not the most memorable, I think. I have to give points for showing an underrepresented area. However, I really think that it was underrepresented for a reason, especially at the time. Because, like, there's only, I think... There's the Allonosaurus, Muttaburrasaurus, Coolosuchus, and the Polar Allosaur. And then there's, like, a live-action Coatamundi. And I think that's, like, it for the whole episode. I do really love seeing... The Coolosuchus is so great. And again, I think that they do a good job showing, like, the diverse behaviors of the animals. You get, like... You get the Muttaburrasaurus having to deal with, like, all the biting flies and stuff like that, which Prehistoric Planet would later go on and basically turn into a whole segment with the Allura Titan. There's the Lialinosaur, like, eating their own eggs, like their own infertile eggs to, like, get the nutrients back, which I always think is cool, seeing herbivores do, like, not very herbivory things. I think this is another A tier. I could put it above Cruelty. Alright, and, Ballad of Big Al and Giant of the Skies placement at the top of S tier kind of goes without saying. Okay, there is something to be said. Like, I feel like Giant of the Skies being second place is due primarily to the science just not holding up very well. But the storytelling and the music is fucking magnificent. It is amazing. It is like peak paleo documentary storytelling. Walking with Dinosaurs 2025 could never. Yeah, there's like the Utahraptors in Europe, which is dumb. And there's also the narrative that like birds were trying to push out the pterosaurs and were succeeding at that, and like pterosaurs were majorly on the decline towards the end of the Cretaceous, which probably didn't have to do with birds. I think that was just that was a theory going around due to a lack of fossil evidence at the time, which is just like, hey, we don't have all that many pterosaurs. Like, I'm pretty sure for a while, as far as like, Maastrichtian North American pterosaurs, you pretty much just had Quetzalcoatlus, and now it's, we know about, at the very least, more. Yeah, the Quetzalcoatlus cameo in Death of a Dynasty pretty much tries to push that same narrative, like, oh, this is basically the last pterosaur, which not exactly true. And then Ballad of Big Al, the science behind it is a lot stronger, and I really like how the sort of second half of it goes deeper into that science to like explain like why they portrayed everything the way they did. With like, hey, here's looking at the Allosaurus's brain case to see that it's more close, like it's closer to crocodiles than it is to birds. So like, you know, if we're going to show the Allosaurus rearing their young in some way, we can assume that it would kind of be similar to crocodiles. Yeah. And they explain the science without breaking the flow of the narrative, and also they explain the science to the audience and not just to each other around a campfire, because he 3D printed a T-Rex brain case while he's digging for fossils out in the field just to show it to one of his coworkers. I am so... I might just have to make a video talking about Walking with Dinosaurs 2025. Yeah, it's not 2 minutes of Al's life before cutting back to them discovering his body. Like, his skeleton at the beginning and end, like, it bookends the episode. It bookends his story. And then you see, like, all the pathologies on the skeleton, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's from that part, and that's from that part, and then there's the toe bone that ultimately led to his death. Walking with Dinosaurs 2025, I'd probably give, like, maybe a 5. Like, I don't think it's bad. It's not bad, but in that kind of way where you have to say it's not bad in a way that almost makes you feel bad for saying it like that. Sauropod with the balloon head thing was weird. It was weird because it looked weird. Like, I've seen so many better depictions of sauropods with, like, sort of inflatable sacs on their faces for, like, noise amplification. Like, hey, the trailer for Dinosauria Volume 2 has that with the Sauroposeidon just kind of bellowing at the Acrocanthosaurus, and it looks way fucking better. Yeah, that's another thing to talk about is, like, the sound design of the show. I think that's also where Cruel Sea might lose a few points, because you don't really get vocalizations from the underwater creatures like you do with basically everything else. Like, I can still hear the Muttaburrasaurus, I can still hear the Coelophysis, I can definitely hear the Ornithochirus and the Allosaurus, and, like, all that shit. Even the T-Rex roar, I think, is really good. And I can definitely still hear the screams, the pained, horrible screams of the Anatotitan as its throat is being ripped out by the T-Rex. New Dawn, I think, is... It's pretty memorable, honestly. I really like this episode. Like, I feel like I've rewatched Walking with Beasts more recently than I have Walking with Dinosaurs, which is weird, but, like, I wanted to rewatch it because I know a lot about Walking with Dinosaurs just, like, from memory. It's like that guy who could just watch Shrek in his head. Yeah, the outdated Gastornis is probably, like, arguably the weakest part of the episode, but even then, I feel like as a character, it's pretty strong. Because, like, it is this kind of, like, big scary monster thing, but it's also, like, this parent that you end up feeling bad for once the ants kill the baby. So it's like, there's a nice mix of emotions there. It doesn't feel purely like an antagonist. I think, again, the connective tissue of the Leptictidium might be the weakest part of the episode, because, like, even if it's on vacation, I think the Ambulocetus is, like, kind of, it's, like, a cool thing to have. It's, like, I think it's a good showcase of, like, the early Eocene, right? even if everything put together isn't exactly accurate. Best antagonist in the whole Walking With series. Um, does the villain protagonist of the Basilosaurus count? Oh, you know who it is? It was man all along. That's the best antagonist. The ending being the big gas leak that the Leptoctidium survived just fine, but like kills the Ambulocetus. I'm not sure how I feel about that. That's probably one of the weaker parts of the episode. Just because like I don't know if it feels super satisfying as a narrative conclusion, but like I don't know if it's supposed to be. It's just sort of like showcasing a thing that happens in nature. Like, hey, there's these big gas explosions. Yeah, the irony is. I know the irony is rich. Um, where like the Leptoctidium are able to survive because of their small bodies, while the Ambulocetus can't because it's so big and needs more oxygen. Yeah, it's built up throughout the episode. Fuck it, I'm gonna give it an S tier. I think it's good. I think it's really good. Whale Killer. I adore Basilosaurus. I love it so much. I think that the land segments are also pretty interesting. Where like the I think it was Brontotherium. I think it's Embolotherium now. Like the mother having a stillborn calf and like trying to like basically wrestle it away from these Andrewsarchus who are trying to scavenge on it. I think that's really cool. And the Basilosaurus going into like the mangroves to try and hunt the Merotherium, also really cool. Unfortunately, I do think that a lot of the Basilosaurus segments, um, like there is, how do I explain this? There are periods where like not much is happening other than just like, hey, this chick needs to eat soon. But once you get to the ending, that pulls it all together because god damn, the ending is just vicious. I love it so much. I really love the female Basilosaurus just slaughtering all the Durodon and just the music that plays there is awesome. Yeah, the Merotherium getting like stranded on the little island at high tide while the Basilosaurus just circles around it. That's good stuff. Like, I honestly feel like that conclusion works better towards the idea of like, this is an animal that's basically on its last legs due to the changing climate. Because, like, this is the sort of desperate situation that a Basilosaurus is driven to just to, like, secure the future of its offspring. Um, I think it's really good. It's just slowed down a bit. To the point where I might have to put it at the top of A tier, but like my bias towards Basilosaurus and whales in general is showing here. But I think I'll have to divorce myself from that and just put it at the top of A tier. Just because some segments do slow down a bit. Land of Giants, we have the Paraceratherium episode. The Indricothere, as it was called back then. Easy S, okay. Because I feel like I don't remember a whole hell of a lot about this episode. I definitely remember, like, the beginning, and I remember the end. I remember the beginning, where it's, like, the mother basically giving birth in the middle of the night and having to defend her baby from a fuckload of hyenodons that are trying to kill her baby, like, seconds after it's born. They're trying to spawn camp it. That's really cool. And then the ending, where she finds a new mate and then basically chases her baby away, and then it's like, cut to a few weeks later, and hey, he's doing just fine on his own right now. I think it's the middle that I just don't remember all that well. I know that there's the Calicotheres. I'm pretty sure one of them ends up getting hunted down by a hyenodon. I think just the representation of species is very interesting in this episode. You got the Paraceratherium, you have the Hyenodon, you have the Entelodonts. Just stuff that you don't really see too often. The Calicotheres. Like, hell, you tell people about, like, Cenozoic fauna, a lot of them who haven't seen Walking with Beasts probably aren't going to know that Calicotheres even exist. And they're so weird, and I really like the design of them with, like, kind of the panda head, but they got, like, the big, like, knuckle-walking gorilla bodies. They're such weird animals. Um, I almost hope that we get like Cenozoic animals in JW3 just so that we can like get one. Or at the very least, I'd love to see it in a Prehistoric Kingdom. Oh yeah. Yeah, his older brother tries to come back to his mother too, but like she chases him away. It's like, oh yeah, that's gonna happen to him down the line. Yeah, I'll give it S tier. Okay, next of kin. I'm not sure. This is another one that like even though I watched this series semi recently, I don't know how well I remember this one. I feel like showcasing the like the group structure of the Australopithecus is really interesting, and like ending with them using tools to like fend off the Dinofelis, I believe it is, which kind of just like gives um like foreshadowing to the rise of man through their use of tools. Yeah, I feel like when I was younger watching this is probably like my least favorite of the Walking with Beasts episodes. But I do think it's interesting to focus on an early hominid. Probably like B tier then. Um, I remember so much of Half Tooth. Like this is a good ass episode. Does this beat out Giant of the Skies? I don't know. It does have some similarly wonky science, like with the saber-toothed cats out competing the terror birds. But I don't know if that's as bad as Utah raptors, famously named for living in Utah, um, living in Europe. It's also got the fragile saber teeth thing. So I think in that aspect that puts it about on par with Giant of the Sky. So it just comes down to like which story is which story is better and which story is told better. I still might have to give that to Sabretooth. Him like losing his pride and having to win it back and all of his cubs being killed off and fucking the Megatherium, dude. God, like this episode single-handedly elevated Megatherium to one of my favorite prehistoric animals because it's so fucking badass. It is so cool. It just fucking one-shots one of the Smilodon brothers. Oh, it's so good. Oh, I really do think it beats out Giant of the Skies in that aspect. And then there's Mammoth Journey. This one has like a lot of interesting depictions of kind of early humans. Like having the Neanderthal get chased down by the...
Free money.
Free money! Thank you! By the Elasmotherium. I think it's an Elasmotherium. It's either Elasmotherium or a woolly rhino. But he like manages to tank the hip just because like his bones are thicker and shit like that. And how the early Homo sapiens are kind of starting the first sort of settlements almost. Just chilling out in the grasslands with the mammoths. But then at the end, you show the, I believe it is also again to the Neanderthals, like, God, that scene of them just driving the mammoth over the cliff, that still sticks with me. That's another one of those things that is like haunting. I don't think it's as haunting as the end of Death of a Dynasty. Okay, it is a woolly rhino. I'm thinking of Prehistoric Park that has the Elasmotherium. But yeah, that's another one of those things that's haunting to me. Yeah, they drove it off a cliff, much like humans treat rats. So now I'm just trying to think of like, I almost feel like humans kind of steal the show here, because the mammoths themselves I don't really remember too much about, outside of them just like, they're kind of just migrating, because they need to like, well, how do we know it's an ice age? Because of all the ice! Alright, I'll bump it up to S, above Land of Giants, just because, again, I don't remember a whole hell of a lot of this one. Alright, cool. So that's my Walking With tier list. Yeah, super stacked S tier. That's what you get when you have such a ridiculously good series. Oh, Death of a Dynasty. Right. Yeah, again, the ending sequence is perfect. But I don't know, like... I don't know if that makes up for everything. Is Death of a Dynasty B tier? Because, like, okay. Ignoring the shoddy science and ignoring the weird models. Okay, for one, the ending is fantastic. For two, I actually do like a lot of what's portrayed, kind of narratively speaking, and in terms of animal behaviors. I think focusing on a T-Rex that's like just trying to raise its children basically is a really interesting approach. Like, we didn't really have anything like that for the rest of the series, as far as I'm aware. Like, the Cynodonts were taking care of their babies, but I don't know if I would really call them the protagonist. Like, the Coelophysis was more the protagonist than anyone, and we had Time of the Titans with, the babies were just kind of left behind. Same with the Ophthalmosaurus. Um, yeah, focusing on the breeding aspect of T-Rex, I think to stay consistent with my ranking of Giant of the Skies, I think I should bump Death of a Dynasty up to B tier. Okay, I'm satisfied. No C tiers. Nothing in C. I do still think it is the weakest of the Walking with Dinosaurs episodes, but I have been convinced.